number?
I did not.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't see it because you can't get in. You can use your Zoom link to see.
Is that going to make some weird feedback?
No, just put yourself on mute on there.
Now, how are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you? Feels a little weird being out this late at night.
I already did though. Remember I had that goal.
It's so cold outside.
Yeah, really.
What?
We're not currently
Oh,
streaming, are we?
Yes, we are.
We are.
Yeah.
Well, I will do that. On camera, but I muted myself, so it's just that.
Lindella's like got her big mug. We're all like very jealous. You're cozy.
Well, I was curious what it looked like. But people can participate in person and online.
Yes, and so I'll be watching so it's a little bit the same and a little bit different. So we're still a Zoom webinar, and I'll watch the attendees, but Remy will manage the permissions, and I have the timer over here, which is broadcast from over there.
There's assigned seats?
There are not assigned seats, wherever you like, as long as there's not a person in the chair.
Hi, Andy.
Did you all park in the garage? No?
How you doing?
Hello. Good.
Great to see you.
Andy, did you park in the garage?
I parked my bike in the bike rack.
I know you all, but.
Hung out the past 2 years, but.
Let me peek out.
Everything.
I realize
realized I don't know how long it takes to go anywhere anymore, because I haven't been anywhere in years.
Pretty funny.
You can't just go upstairs at 6:28 and do that time.
You got a quorum?
My brain's like
Oh,
sideways
six.
because we're doing this
Let's
in
see.
person.
Yeah,
I was
there's
here for budget,
5.
like, right, March,
And then
first week of
Deb's.
March.
Oh, yes,
And that
okay.
was the last meeting.
I used to go to city council all the time. So I think I don't have to- or something like that.
It just slows it down on my Bluetooth headset, just go, yell at each other. I can like tell you my house.
Where are my lists?
Not that they need time and space to like compose a statement.
Hate it when I move things. You ever do that? You like, you see it like moving thing to another folder. Well, you'll never find it again. There's like no undo button for that.
No, let's be careful.
It'll be found someday, I'm sure.
Hey Mary, how you doing?
How do you get permission to be on Zoom?
Oh,
Have to have a negative, a positive COVID test?
no, you have to, you have to remember when we went over that big SOP?
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty tedious. So there's, and then, okay, yeah, in
I
your
mean,
email,
It's totally fine. I'm totally happy to be here. in
I
person.
summarized the email, but there's
Okay.
state code that has like 4 criteria.
Yeah,
And
okay.
you have to meet one of those, and you have to solicit the chair, and the chair gets to say yay or nay, you met the thing. But if you're the chair,
You can just not come?
we don't know.
Yeah.
She brought that up, I was like, oh,
Asking
good
that.
point, good loophole,
Self-certified.
we don't know.
Jessica, your hair is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's comforting too because it
Don't do
matches in
this.
some way the galaxy background of your Zoom
Oh.
screen. And so I feel like I'm right at home.
You're like, I'm ready for this.
I know where I am. I'm like, I'm
Yes,
ready.
it's familiar.
There's one.
So,
We have 5.
Got that quorum.
we have a quorum, right? 5?
Yeah.
We have 6.
6.
Oh, 6, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, you still have a quorum, yeah.
Oh, 6,
Oh,
yeah,
Lindell.
sorry.
Lindell,
Sorry,
sorry.
sorry, Linda.
Have we heard from, Ernest?
I have not. Look at that, that just like moved here for some reason. I'm feeling exceptionally clunky this evening with my fingers on my computer for whatever reason. We'll see, this may be a little bit rocky as I try to like juggle things in a different way. We shall see. No idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I was curious, that's all. Yeah.
I think if I can, business.
Lindell's
Two people come, two people.
Jessica, that's why I didn't see
And
the
that's what I
camera.
missed.
I thought maybe the camera would be around me. So I was like, I'm gonna move as far away as possible.
They still have me. Actually, they don't
Yeah,
have
do
it
you
all.
have any new?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. That's how I like it. Behind the scenes.
He sit over there. It's like the meat of it. It feels like a lot more official.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we've had that luck.
With the mics and the tables and everything.
Yeah, so we probably should. Did we decide it?
We used to be more in a circle, so we could like see each other, right?
Well, I mean, it used to be set up more like a, yeah, it
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 was
did used to
circle.
be, but I think
Or
because of
maybe
the
a-
cameras and the.
Yeah, maybe it
being
was
able
a
to
view,
see.
actually.
And.
It was always open to the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should happen is that we should just pick up and try to make that.
So we're waiting for Ernest and Catherine, both of whom have been here for in-person before, so they know where we are.
Okay.
Um,
This is Kathy.
I haven't heard from either of them today. I see no new emails.
Or should we just start if we don't know that they're still coming?
Oh, okay.
I lean to
Should we just start?
the chair for that decision.
Let's just give them a little more.
Yeah, okay.
We can do that.
We'll start in 2 minutes if they have time.
We have one member of the public attending. I'm
Hi, Ange. Mary, what'd you cook for dinner tonight?
I'm gonna say something that sounds like fancier than it is, but I made risotto with scallops. It was a little bit fancy, but, I had these scallops that had been sitting there for a while, and I was sort of like, that's why my daughter and I were like, if we do not cook them tomorrow, then they have to go in the trash, so.
Old scallops is less fancy, that's for sure.
Yeah, they were borderline scallops at best. Yeah. I had,
Special today.
I actually ate something else. I ate some leftovers. I fed them to my daughter and husband. I wasn't trying to get them sick, but
They can either confirm or deny.
How old is your daughter, Mary? I'm sorry?
How old is your daughter?
I have a 21-year-old and he goes to PVCC, and then I have a son at VCU.
No, your daughter, she's asking.
Yeah, she's 21.
Oh.
She's at PVCC,
Okay.
so she lives at home. She gets,
That is amazing that that much time has passed.
I know.
And your son is older.
No, he's younger, he's
Younger.
18, he's
Yeah.
at VCU.
All right, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order, November 17, 2022, at 6:40 PM Eastern.
Let's do a roll call. Aha, see? It's hard to remember, isn't it? I'm just leaving mine on, so you're gonna hear all of my like grunts and questions to myself. But here we go with our attendance. Jessica.
Here.
And we're waiting for Ernest. Jeanette.
Here.
Mary.
Here.
Wolfgang.
Here.
Waiting for Catherine. Andy.
Here.
Lindell is joining us remotely from
Here,
home.
I'm here.
Do you have to make a statement?
I just did, didn't I? That kind of counts, probably.
You gave me an
Let the
official
minutes
sentence
reflect.
to say.
You
Yes.
should say it. Want to say it?
Yes. Because you gave it to me. So I just wanted to state that Commissioner Lindell is joining us remotely via her residence.
Perfect. And that is attendance.
All right, so before we get kicked off today, I just wanted to have a moment of silence for Deshaun Perry, Davis Jr., and Devin Chandler. Thank you, guys. All right, let's recite our mission. Act as a strong advocate to justice and equal opportunity by providing citywide leadership and guidance in the area of civil rights. All right, we will have matters by the public. The commission welcomes comments and questions and commits to listening carefully and thoughtfully to what is presented. A maximum of 16 public comment time slots are allowed per meeting. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. The commission requests that members of the public refrain from engaging in personal attacks against commissioners and staff members and asks that comments and questions focused on matters related to human rights within the city. If you would like to speak and you're on the phone, you can press, you can raise your hand if you're on Zoom, and if you're on the phone, press star 9. And
We have one hand raised.
Yeah.
so go ahead.
And if you want to, do we have to promote her to panelist, Todd?
I believe that's Remy.
Oh,
you
am
doing
I
that?
muted?
All right, you have the floor.
Hi. So I just wanted to bring to you all a concern that I have with the homelessness in Charlottesville, and the with the weather, even without the weather, but particularly now with the weather. It's concerning that there are still folks who are sleeping outside in their cars and other things. I'm speaking in my individual capacity. I'm not a representative of any organization or other entity. I just want to let that be on record. But I am concerned about the lack of options for folks in regards to those things. You know, the conditions outside are terrible already enough, right? Like, but exposure to extreme cold, I'm sorry, for folks that do have underlying conditions, and even those who don't have underlying conditions, and even those who may not have underlying conditions but could develop them, you know, it's very scary, right? Imagine going outside. It's cold now, like going outside without a jacket, but being outside for, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours in the night, it's very, very concerning. So I'm not sure what you can propose. So I did tweet out in my individual capacity again to Michael Payne, Cena, and City Council recently, but they didn't answer the phone. Their phones go to voicemail, and there's no other option. So usually when I contact them, they do not respond, which is fine. But also it's not fine. So I'm wondering if there's something you all can do in regards to maybe bringing that to their attention, that, you know, the options that are available, you know, they're not enough for the folks that we have in our community who are unsheltered, homeless, sleeping in their cars, sleeping outside, who do not meet the requirements for shelter or possibly banned from options. And I, you know, so that's some word. It's only going to get colder, and people will die outside.
Thanks,
and-
Ange. I think we just, sorry about this for interrupting you. I'm
It's okay.
getting used to
I'm
running
done.
this timer thing. But yeah. Thank you for your comment. It was very helpful.
Do
I
we
have a question.
anyone else that would like to speak? All right, if we want to
May I
have
ask a follow-
Commissioner's response, yes, Lindell.
Yes, may I ask a follow-up question of Ange?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ange, I feel like I should know this or have seen this information, and maybe it is not generally known. But is there a sense, do you have a sense
Lindell, hold
of,
on one second.
Is it possible to turn the volume?
Mm.
Okay. Okay, we're listening, Lindell. Sorry, it's just a little hard to hear you, but keep going.
okay, all right, I'll try to talk a little bit louder. So do you have a sense, Ange, or does anyone have a sense of how many people we are talking about who don't have access for the reasons that you named in your conversation? how many people are we talking about at any given time that need services on a particular night?
I'm not exactly sure. I know that that could be obtained from folks. I know that there are certain capacity limits to what can and add certain options. I know that that's a fact. But also, like, it's there's a lot more. There's a lot more to that. Like, are we expecting folks to go if they can't go to those options, right? Or, we do have folks who have not, and again, I'm speaking in my individual capacity, not representing any organization or entity. So I'm just like where they're supposed to go, and even if it's like one person, even if it's like 3 people, even if it's like 5 people, even if it's 10 people, right? Like there really should not be anyone outside at all, period. So that's what I'm getting at. And for various reasons, I'm sure that could be something you could obtain from somewhere. Not exactly sure how to go about doing that, but or I'm speaking in my individual capacity. So, it's there's no reason. So it's just terrible. It's
Thank
just
you.
terrible.
Lindell, did you have any more questions?
Sorry.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with you, Angela. I share your concern.
Yeah,
I'm
just
just
in
trying
terms
to
of-
get a sense of scope here.
I mean, that's easy. Like you could so the thing about it is some folks sleep in their cars, right? Others sleep in parks and wherever they sleep, wherever they can. So it
And-
would literally be like doing that, like going out there and doing that. But, I mean, to get an
And-
accurate count, especially with folks, newly arriving folks and things like that, that might be difficult to get an accurate count, but
And
I'm done.
yeah, I apologize.
Sorry.
We have to move on. Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. Do we have any responses from the commission? Yes, Mary?
Yeah, I appreciate, just going to take this off for 1 second because I can't seem to talk with the mask on, but I appreciate those comments a lot. And I just want to suggest, I know that we're coming up to the time where we're going to have a longer retreat, but I'm wondering if this is a potential topic for we have had imposed upon us by the city council an obligation to craft a report annually. And this could be a topic that we might consider addressing in a report to really talk about what the options are for unhoused people and kind of the necessities, the lack that there is. And I know we talk about a million issues, but it seems to me this keeps bubbling up as a real issue that we all think is deeply concerning. So,
Thank you for that, Mary. Anyone else? Yes, Jeanette?
Well, I just noticed that Pacham just opened their shelters on the 14th, so they go through the spring. I wonder how much of capacity they are able to handle compared to what's needed.
Todd, yes, Wolfgang.
I looked at some statistics after Lindell's question. It looks like Pacham holds about 65 people every night on average, depending about individual church capacity. And then the Salvation Army is a 58-bed shelter. In 2021, Daily Progress reported that 260 individuals were unhoused in the city. In the county, that number was 177.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously don't know what the 2022 numbers are, but the gap is pretty clear between beds and
Yeah.
people.
What was the capacity again for the Salvation Army?
It says 58. That's just
Okay.
a quick search about homelessshelterdirectory.com.
Todd, you had a comment? I do have a question, but Todd, do you have a comment?
Well, go ahead.
No, just my question was, Ange, I didn't realize this. Feel like Ange, that everyone that is not sheltered, I was just down here the other day, and it was really sad. It was like during the day, and I saw a couple of people like going underneath the cover, and I just felt like just witnessing it is something. But is there listed somewhere like the limitations, like for what was the one you mentioned, Jeanette? Pacham, and then the Salvation. Are there certain restrictions that they have for? Okay. Do you know of what they are? And then if someone doesn't meet them, what is the alternative? There is none? I mean, I'm trying to ask to build something to bring to city council, that if there's like restrictions on this, not just capacity, but restrictions because of whatever their policies, that I'm trying to figure out a way for us to be able to bring this to city council in an efficient way.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just bring some background. So I think probably a while back now, many months ago, I attached kind of the notes from the homelessness rumble. It was like 3 sessions of all the service providers where they addressed issues around the continuum of care for the homeless population. So there's a lot of that information in there. You can kind of glean like where are the gaps, where are the holes. There are only 2 shelters. There's the Salvation Army and there's Pacham. Now Pacham operates 2 different things, right? They operate Premier Circle, which is the former Red Carpet Inn on 29. But that was specifically for people who were had health conditions that put them at greater risk for COVID, right? Right now, that's closed to new entries. That doesn't mean it's full, it's just closed to new entries because they're preparing to demolish and rebuild that in April, right? So that's kind of off the table at the moment. So we have Pacham Congregate, like you said, that the capacity varies based on the size of the church, I suppose. If you go there and they're full, it's first come, first serve. So you show up between 5:30 and 7:30. You're supposed to call the homeless intake line in advance of that. That's the way you can learn the location of the shelter that night. But then you're still obligated to get yourself there by between 5:30 and 7:30 for intake. If they're full, they will send you a referral to the Salvation Army warm room, where there are 6 spots for men, 6 spots for women. If that's full, that's all you got. I spent, probably most of the day today making sure that somebody did not end up homeless this night. And I'm actually going to go pick them up about 9:30 tonight to get them to a hotel. But the problem is that there are certain barriers to entry. And we don't have to go into all those right now. But yes, those barriers to entry are real and they're unsolved. And there's another dialogue coming up, kind of a roundup of that rumble that happened back in, I can't even remember when those were, earlier this year, I think around February. Coming up on December 1st, in fact. Formerly TJAC, BRAC, Blue Ridge Area Coalition for the Homeless, Anthony Haro is working with our Department of Human Services to host a follow-up session to try to get to some solution-oriented stuff. But without a big audacious plan, right, to either construct more shelter and staff more shelter and obviously fund, we are at a holding pattern right now. And so it's dire. It's dire. We know many, many people who are chronically homeless who come visit us on a regular basis. So,
Todd, can you resend? I know you sent it, but can you just resend so it's at the top of our emails, that summary again?
Yeah, happy to do that.
All right.
Happy to do that.
The
But
Rumble,
The Rumble.
I can email it out right now.
Oh, perfect.
I was looking it up. while we
Any
were
other
talking.
commissioner comments? Thank you, Ange, for bringing this up. It is a very dire situation, and when was that next meeting, Todd?
The 1st of December.
1st of December. So that may be something to participate in, Ange, if you're interested. But thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. We really appreciate it, you coming and sharing that with us. All right, so we'll close that. Now we have to have the approval of the 10/20/22 regular meeting minutes.
I move their approval.
Second.
All right, let's do the roll call vote. Jessica?
Abstain.
Abstained. Ernest is not here. Jeanette?
He said he's on his way, he's just running late, sorry.
Oh, good.
Approve.
Approved, okay. Mary,
Approved.
Wolfgang,
Approve.
no Catherine. Andy,
Yes.
Lindell,
Abstain?
was that an abstain?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Very good, thanks.
So I have just brief, chair updates. Thank you guys for participating in the moment of silence. The families that have been affected are deeply, in our thoughts. Just wanted to follow up with the, ad hoc committee meetings. I mentioned it in our last, committee session, ad hoc committee session, but when we get there, if we need to revisit, how we have spread those out, I think we've been very ambitious, and I love the energy that we came out of our retreat with, but if we need to condense those and work more effectively and focus on just a few things, we should revisit that tonight. So that's all that I had. Then I'll turn it over to Todd for the OHR staff reports.
Do you have any updates you want to provide first before I go into my long spiel? Okay. I won't be too long. Let me look at my own information here. So, the usual charts are up. Thank you, Lily, for all the work she does to get our data up to date. One of the things that we're changing about this, and if you read that at all, this will sound familiar. One of the things we're trying to do is get a better sense of what work we are doing that is not directly related to the ordinance. And by which I mean all the navigation work that we do, the thing I just mentioned that I spent most of my day doing today, and will spend a chunk of my night doing tonight, trying to get a sense of the numbers compared to the work we do around actual allegations of discrimination, whether or not we handle it as a case or refer it to a state agency, but that kind of work. If you look in the notes, we've spent some time basically reclassifying things that fall into that category, and Lily has gotten through October for us already. So just to give you a snapshot, let's quote this number. So the total incoming and outgoing contacts, so incoming and outgoing contacts in October were 353.
Wow.
256 of those we're calling navigation-related contacts. So that's us helping people access other resources, call service providers because they can't figure out how to access services, things like that. And so we are in the process of doing that for the entire year so that we have a snapshot that we can then present to the city manager so they can actually tag something. We can say financially, this is how much it costs. You're paying the Office of Human Rights to do all this work that potentially could be done by another service provider if the service existed. So we've broken it out by staff too, so we can actually put a price tag on there based on our wages. So that's new. Other than that, in this report, I also dropped, I'm going to go down to the bottom here. As you know, with the ordinance, it's back on, and there's an amendment to this because I just read something right before this meeting. The ordinance is back on council's agenda for the 21st. I thought it was I put it on the action agenda. It got moved to the consent agenda. Now it's back on the action agenda. So that means they're still going to discuss a little bit more. But Jessica, I know you submitted a letter saying the commission's in support of the ordinance as written. So I'm not sure what else they're going to discuss. I'll be present, though, remotely, probably from somewhere in the Midwest. But I will be there to talk to council if they have any questions. So that's coming up on the 21st. Still wanting to get into the hiring piece for our intake counselor, but that's sort of been on hold while we deal with all the other things that we've got going on. Just had the budget meeting on, what was that, yesterday? Yeah, budget meeting yesterday with city management. I think everything's going okay. I requested permanent funding line item for our interns because we were sort of borrowing from other line items to do that for a long time after we filled up our personnel budget. So hopefully that will work out, and then we can continue to have an intern in the office and continue to pay Lily and Jenny. I remember during the 221s, the quarterly reports to council came up briefly, and I was never really exactly sure what that was supposed to be. I know kind of informally we talked about this with counselors before. What I'm going to start doing is forwarding this very report every quarter to council and just say, here's my quarterly report, because I think that's all they're really looking for, is just what's going on. Give me some numbers. So I'm going to start doing that coming up, and there's all the case stuff. Some of that stuff I think I forgot to update one of them because something changed in it recently, but yeah, there's all the complaint stuff at the bottom of the report. So anything else? I don't know. Any questions?
What is your next steps, Todd, to, I'm assuming you're presenting this to Ashley, the number of redirecting, resourcing
Yeah.
for others. So what's your plan? What's your next steps after you've compiled this?
So we're going to continue to collect the data, right? So yeah, let's just talk a little bit about the future. So Ashley actually requested, like, give me some data so that I can give a number to
Yeah.
city management and council so they know like what you're doing, right? So,
Mhm.
and can put a price tag on it. Whether or not that changes what we do, maybe not immediately. A couple other things may change that. The fact that we're moving on December 2nd to right underneath where we're sitting right now, we're moving offices. We'll be moving in with Home to Hope and the Downtown Job Center, so we'll all be in one office. So that's going to change how people access us. Right now, you can just look in the glass and knock and we'll open the door. That will change a little bit because we're going to be back in offices. We won't be able to see people directly. So we're also coupling that with the hiring of our intake person. They may start fielding some of that navigational work, but most likely we'll continue to do a lot of that stuff because those kinds of things sort of spread by word of mouth. If you help somebody, they tell somebody else, and then they just keep coming. It's just kind of how it works. But yeah, I will like to see, I'm going to submit it with kind of an itemized list of here are the kinds of things that we're talking about. I submitted a bit of a list on the report here, but I think the idea is that if we understand kind of in more specifics, like what the amount of time and exact tasks are, then
Mhm.
maybe we can think about, maybe we need to consider hiring navigators in
Yeah.
some capacity in some other part of the city or something. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a preliminary kind of discussion, and this is the starting point.
Anyone else have questions for Todd?
I do.
Yes, Wolfgang.
I noticed that one of the items in navigation
Ow.
is providing Spanish translation for other city departments.
Yes.
I was curious as to if you can quantify that in terms of like hours or people served, knowing that we proposed a resolution to city council asking for like language
Mhm.
accessibility
Yeah.
for all residents to communicate in a language that they feel most comfortable in. So I'm curious to see what that looks like for you both.
I don't know if can you put it, I can't put an exact time frame on it. It's not every month, but it's periodic.
Periodic.
Yeah. And I think other staff get it a little bit, but it just depends on where the call lands. And if they know that we
Yeah.
speak, then they'll call, and then hopefully they'll get Victoria because she speaks so much better than I do. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. It's just periodic. But I think it's an important thing to note that's why I put it in there, is that,
They require
how can we systematize this a little bit better so that we really have a plan?
Just curious, because we hadn't followed up with city council since we sent them that resolution. I think there might have been some questions that came out from it.
Yes, and I think if you recall, I know Ashley has already
She's already
done a
that.
procurement for some language access components of like implementing a system. I don't know what all that is and where that sits right now. So it's in the works, but I don't know exactly where. I think they're looking to have somebody actually like facilitate the execution. So as with many things in government, it takes a while. So, but I can find out. Yeah.
Oh, I just had to follow up. So if somebody comes into the office who speaks a language other than Spanish or
Mhm.
English, what do you currently do?
That's a great question. So sometimes that happens. Oftentimes they come with somebody who speaks that language or who says, I know so-and-so, who is connected with this person who can come and translate, or we call the IRC and we can arrange to have an actual translator come, because we try not to use family members as translators. So, yeah, that's what we've done. In the past, I have had an IRC translator come for, I think it was Dari, and it worked well. I think we did it over the phone or in person. That's been a few years. I can't remember, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Doesn't happen too often, but.
I can't access it now, but I was trying to find, I thought we were storing all of our letters to council on the Human Rights website, the commission's website.
Yes.
Would you mind walking us through how to get there?
Oh, yeah, and I don't know that I've uploaded everything most recent on there yet, but let me, I'll tell you how. I'll do it myself while we talk. Do you have web access now?
I can't access the government website for some reason. I have other sites, but.
Are you on City Guest?
Yeah.
For- Okay, huh. What is it?
Yeah, the city website's been acting weird all day.
Oh,
I noticed that back at the office too, so.
curious. So I might not be able to get on, I can't get on it either. Well, here's the oral explanation.
Yeah.
Without the visual. So go to the city website, charlottesville.gov. Click on government, you get the pop-up menu, look for human rights, click human rights. When you open our page, there's a little sub-page up in the upper left-hand corner on the margin that says human rights documents. Click that, and then all of our documents, at least those of which I have put on there most recently, are there. I think the letter to council in support of the ordinance is not there. I know it's not there, and there may be one more that I haven't posted yet, but.
Did you say the upper left?
Yeah, upper left-hand corner, kind of, under the big banner above, but it's like in the margin. Yeah, good question.
What is that buzzing noise?
Buzzing?
Do you hear an alarm? Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
I'm like, is everything all right? Just
I can't hear
very hypersensitive to alarms. Any other questions for Todd? Okay. I gotta find back the agenda. All right, Todd, I guess I'll keep it to you too. You were gonna go over our commissioner terms.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll jump into that. Commissioner terms. So you all saw yet another spreadsheet listing the terms. It was a very interesting exercise to delve back into the history and find out how many people have been on the commission and how much the commission has changed in size and kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. But all that staggering of terms got lost from the initial staggering in that process, and so we're in the process of trying to reestablish the staggering. So I think, and thank you to I think Mary and Jeanette, you responded and said you were comfortable. I hope it's okay. You gave me the option of a 1 or a 2, and I gave you a 2. Yep. And so what we still are in need of. So those of you, if you're looking at the list right now, those of you on the chart, and Mary, I think you said you were okay with the.
I'm okay with however you wanna.
Okay.
I'm fine with either one.
You're
Yeah,
okay?
we're in the same boat,
Okay.
so
And so
we're good.
I guess I would turn to the other 4 in blue, Andy, Ernest, Catherine, and Lindell, to decide whether you would like to be have a 2-year term or a 3-year term. If you need help remembering what that implies, is that if you're currently on a 3-year term, right? Because that's the default after your first term. And so you all are in your second term right now. So if you were to select a 2-year term, you would end on 2024. That would be February 28th, 2024. That would be your term end. If you choose a 3-year term, you would end in 2/28/25. So a year difference. And so what we need is 2 people to choose a 3, because I need 3 1s, 3 2s, and 3 3s. And now right now I have 3 1s, and I have 1 2 and 1 3.
I'm happy to
So I'm-
do the 2.
Okay. I'm going to mark that in my notes. Lindell?
I was going to say that I'm willing also to go down to a 2-year if needed. Yeah,
Okay. And if we do that, then this is the danger of not being present, isn't it? Ernest and Catherine will be still set at 3-year terms. That doesn't mean, like, if something were to happen, you can always leave, but what we'll try to do is, when we fill the unfinished terms, we're going to try to maintain that staggering as attached to the seat, so to speak. And so that's really all this is just to make sure that happens, so.
And so Todd, if we have terms that end in February,
Mhm.
do we need to reapply now if we want to remain on the commission?
Thank you for asking that. So what Maxilia told me was that unless you guys want to update your application information for any reason, because it's fairly recent, she can just resubmit it, and you don't have to do anything, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That was what, because you started your first term after your unfinished term at the beginning of, that is kind of funny though, because you were reappointed. When did you resubmit application? I'm trying to remember. Didn't you have to reapply at one point recently? I think you did. I can't.
I vaguely recall that might have happened.
I think you're right, because you had to do a second appointment. Yeah, I can't remember now. In any case,
Essentially, we don't have to do anything. It's going to happen.
she said that.
Or,
I can
mean, they
confirm.
obviously reject it, but it's
Yeah,
going to get submitted.
you can choose not, yeah, they can obviously reject it. But I will ask, for those of you who are needing to, and Jessica did did have to reapply to
Yes.
renew her term, because that was a while ago. But I'm sort of thinking that you guys didn't submit new information since 2020 either. Is that true? Do you recall ever having to reapply? You did?
Yeah, that's right. I felt like it was Jeanette that
I-
had to do it
I think it was
recently.
all the folks, yeah.
No, I feel like it was just Jeanette. Wasn't
No, I think
Or
it was
maybe others.
everybody
Okay.
who's in blue on the chart. So
Okay.
I'll talk to Max again and I'll let you know. How's that sound? For Mary and Wolfgang?
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I think I have my application buried somewhere.
Yeah,
Resubmitted,
it's-
not the end of the world.
Pretty easy to redo, so. And if you could also say if there's no changes, maybe I can just, I'll do an email circle around with the two of you, so.
Not much has happened
And-
in the past 2 years.
Todd,
Yeah,
you wanted me to update you about if, when I did resubmit, did I get the email explaining the duties? And I didn't.
You did
So,
not?
No.
okay.
And it was
Thanks.
weird. Just a detailed thing, like I submitted it with a different email, but I got a response confirmed with my old email, and I was like, but I didn't submit it with that email.
Oh, interesting,
So,
yeah.
Whatever, it's fine. It's
This-
submitted, and
This is one of those things that I've also noticed that, like, there are so many different email, like, spreadsheets. And so it depends on which one they're logging into, which email they're going to send you back. But yeah,
it's fine. I got it, was confirmed that it was submitted, and we'll go to city council for review.
but you did not get like thanks for applying. Here's what to expect if you serve.
No, I just
Okay.
got thanks for applying. It was received.
Okay. We're working on that. I think it's a work in progress. I know that council has also talked about wanting to do a better job of kind of having a unified set of procedures for all boards and commissions, as well as kind of a more robust orientation. And and I think this part of this process is trying to establish those systems. So
Okay.
thanks.
Any other questions for Todd about terms? Thank you, Todd.
Thank you all for being flexible and
You're
like
awesome.
adapting to this request. Ernest.
Ernest is here. I saw you in Zoom and was like, you're not supposed to be on Zoom.
Got the UVA spirit going there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell Ernest about his term? To update him?
Well, it's unchanged, I guess.
Okay. So Ernest, your term is unchanged. We're talking about the staggering terms.
You'll continue to serve your current 3-year term, which would end in March 28, 2025.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're hungry.
Obviously, you're not bound to that. If you need to go somewhere, we won't stop you, but that's your seat currently runs to that.
I don't think I'm going anywhere.
Okay.
Anytime soon. That's good. All right. All right, now for our nominating committee, because we have to decide and vote and prepare for chair for next year. So who would, so,
Is it in our bylaws that we have to elect people every single year?
yes. Right,
Can't
Tom?
have a two-year term? Okay.
You could change your bylaws.
Yeah,
Let me, since you asked, let's look and make sure that I'm not wrong here.
No, I mean, I think we've done that.
I think we always have.
It's hard, like a one-year term, if you have goals as a, as chair,
Yep.
it's hard to get that done in a year.
It is.
And speaking of bylaws, we're still kind of hovering with some changes that we haven't
Yeah.
made because we're kind of waiting for
Our ordinance to be.
to see if there may be some guidance coming down from council. We may want to talk about that. I mean, I think that, and I've actually submitted sort of our draft revised rules and procedures, quote unquote bylaws, to the clerk for consideration as council is working with this group of law students to come up with some unified rules and procedures. But we may still want to just continue on, since we're still operating under what we have, we may want to continue on with those modifications. And the modifications were around the Martha's rules and I think a few other things. So just maybe something to consider for like next meeting, perhaps, like if you want to add a modification that says, the officers serve for 2 years, you potentially could. I'm going to look at that right now, though. I have to figure out which one of these is the most recent.
In terms of the nominating committee, I've done it the past 2 years. I'm happy to do it again.
Okay. Would you like to be chair of the nominating
I'll happily
committee
be
and
chair.
leading it? Thank you.
Honored.
Good call, Jessica. You remembered that one.
Yes, I remember that point.
I'd be happy to serve on the committee. I mean, assuming you need more than one person.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
It's
And
expressly stated for 1 year. Sorry.
Okay.
2.3 in the rules and procedures.
Can I just, can I just say what y'all will be tasked to do, or I don't have to because you've done it? Do I need to bore everyone with what we're needing to do?
You could explain
I
it
just
for
feel
the
like
sake
for
of the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for. Okay, so we thank you, Wolfgang and Mary, for volunteering to be on the nominating committee. This is to set up the procedures and gather basically the ballot for chair and vice chair for the 2023 term. So that will happen. You guys will be working in between our next meeting and submit whatever the procedure is in between. You'll let us know who is running for chair and vice chair. And then in the January meeting, there will be a period of time where Todd will take over the meeting, and then we will have the voting for chair and vice chair for 2023. Any questions? Okay. And yes, I'm thinking of Todd because he was telling me this. We do have the ballot, but I think by our bylaws, you still are able to nominate someone from the floor, like in our January meeting. But just
Yep.
FYI. Okay, thank you, Wolfgang and Mary. Any other questions, comments about that? Okay, now to our ad hoc committee updates. Scroll down. Todd, that's not attached, our minutes from that?
Not yet,
Okay.
because I was just on the 3rd, and I know that Jenny has been pretty busy
Oh, okay.
at school right now. So, yep. But we'll have those for the next
Next meeting.
which is not what? How many weeks? It's the first Thursday of December. Here, in fact.
Oh, we'll have to be in person,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Also,
First
yeah.
Thursday, which is, that'll
The
be
first
December-
Thursday of December.
December 1st?
Is it December 1st? Is that December 1st too?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, December 1st is heavy for us. We're also packing the entire office and moving most of it that day. So
Oh, wow.
it'll
Where
be a
y'all
good
moving?
day.
Where are you moving?
Oh, right under us, Bashir's, the old Bashir's space.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
Oh.
discuss.
Yep.
So, is there any possibility of, we had other time slots for the ad hoc committees. I'd like to see that, if that's a possibility again. Because, evenings are just a lot harder for me. I appreciated having that midday
Yeah.
slot for the ad hoc committee.
I think it's a matter about when city space is available, because we have to be
Sure.
in
Yeah.
person. So I look over to Todd for that.
Although
I'm,
in January, won't we be able to have some virtual meetings
You can do-
again?
yeah.
two of each. Yeah, as I recall, like, your main meeting is sort of considered separate from your committee meeting, and so you could do 2 main meetings and 2 committee meetings. I have to look, I'm opening the SOP again, because I don't remember right off the top of my head. The weird thing, Andy, about scheduling during the day, it specifically says, I gotta find this again, that we're supposed to schedule after 5, which is mostly because it's the use of city space, because they have other things during the day, other functions, and it's also the office space for city staff. I think that's probably the reasoning. I'm trying to find that SOP, but yeah, that is the one caveat.
I see.
Is there,
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
yeah,
For the last 2 community engagement committee meetings, like the one 2 times ago, I think I was the only one that showed up, and then the last one, it was just Jessica and I. So I'm wondering if we could pause that particular committee meeting until the new year and do work via email, would be my proposal.
Yeah.
I do think we have work to do in terms of
Catherine's here.
pulling together another listening session for the new year. But I'm hoping that we can do that by email, would be my proposal.
Okay. Yeah, as we wait, I was gonna say, if we wanted to talk about restructuring this for the end of this year, because yes, it was me on all of them last time, kind of by default. Oh, Mary, you were there.
Yeah, I
The-
was gonna
the
say
housing.
about the housing, look, and you may disagree with this, I don't think you're the official housing chair, but, what we sort of concluded at the last
Oh,
kind of
yeah. Yeah.
semi-meeting was that we wanted to, at our retreat, kind of pick a housing issue
Yes.
to work on, because we had a bunch of them, and really sort of go deep on that thing.
Okay.
And, we had several things that we thought were important. So if that's the case, and we want to do it collectively as a retreat, we may not
Need to
a
meet.
committee meeting in person, although we might if we want to like do something to prepare for the retreat, but I just throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I agree that the subcommittee meetings as they stand have not been, I guess, efficient in moving the work forward. And the work is important, and I
Yeah.
want the work to move forward. I have been traveling so
Yeah.
much that I just haven't been able to like show up for any of the times that we've chosen. And so I guess as Andy said, I'd be like more amenable to both picking a time that works for the collective, but then also restructuring the subcommittees too, so that we're able to more fully participate in maybe like one thing as opposed to all the things that we could do that are
Yeah.
important, but probably aren't feasible for us to accomplish.
Yes. Todd, you have, sorry, real quick, Todd, do you have an update about the space?
about the space. Oh, so we are a tier 2 board or commission, and which means that we have next priority after City Planning Commission and Board of Architectural Review, but they all are said to use, so that means that if they're not using the space after 5 PM, we get to use it. But it's all about 5 PM, except for the Retirement Commission, which is on or after 8:30 PM. And I don't know why they got a special exception. Maybe they asked for it. If you want, I could ask and see if we can.
For 5 PM? Sorry.
Oh, if we can say it doesn't have to be 5 PM or later, I can see if there's another, like, I can ask why the dispensation for the Retirement Commission and no others. I don't know what the rationale for that was. I'm just reading the SOP. Want me to do that?
Well, I think if we have the virtual option next year, then, maybe that's the way
But we'll only have 2.
Only twice.
You only do it twice.
twice. per month?
No, twice in a whole year.
In a year.
Yes, yes.
Twice in a whole year, or no more than 25% of all meetings, whichever is greater. I shouldn't have that memorized, but I think I do. Yeah, and that's not confusing. But the hard part is anticipating what 25% of your committee meetings are, because you don't know how many committees. I guess you could potentially say 25% of 12, assuming it meets every month, which is, do the math, because that's not even.
3.
3? Is that 25%? I'm not good at math in my head.
I think if you round up, it's.
We'll say 3. So it's about the same. You'd be missing a lot of meetings, basically, if you didn't come when they weren't virtual, I suppose. So I can ask about the time, like to see if there's a window, a regularly occurring window that we reserve city space during the day, potentially?
Is city space the only space that's available for meetings currently because of the whole technology setup?
Well, no. Let me read down. City premises, other, I have to look.
Lindell, did you have any comments as we're waiting? Sorry, you're behind me, and I
Okay.
don't always see.
No, I'm just, I just want to say I do want to be involved, much more so in these committees, but the last couple of months have been challenging. I would love to do things by email, and then after January, really pick up and go hard on this. That would be mine.
I just wanted to add that I understand, like, a lot of people want during the day. I could only do the day virtually, generally, because I travel quite a bit for work. So you know, like, there's lots of us, so it obviously doesn't, you know, have to follow my schedule, but that's kind of where I am. But I do agree that, like, as currently structured, the committees aren't really a great use of time, so, like, we should figure out a different approach, because there is, like, we all get, you know, we get on it, like, Wolfgang went to one, I went to the next, and so, like, nothing moved forward. And so, like, trying to figure out what it would take to actually move forward on the work.
Yeah. So what I was going to suggest is, because of that nature, I think it's just this time of year, we're all professionals and really busy, that I just ask if you are chairing an ad hoc committee, like really kind of pushing us forward as much as possible. I think there's a lot of productivity we have done in the past via email. And so if meetings are not happening, or before they're happening, like making sure we're having agendas, and so we have a focus moving forward. So it sounds like to me, we may not need city space for December 1, because we're gonna move everyone's gonna be kind of working electronically, and then we can figure out starting in January 2023 about a space. Is that agreed? Yes, Wolfgang.
I wanted to ask if anybody is particularly passionate about wanting to chair the housing subcommittee. I ended up being the chair by default, not by choice. And so I will continue
That's
being
fair.
the chair and trying to move things forward. But if anyone is particularly passionate about wanting to take an idea, run with it, organize, lead, I offer that back to the group.
I think one other point, I'm not volunteering, but.
Yeah.
But one other point is, if there are just 2 of us, we could just do it whenever, right? That doesn't have to be a publicly noticed.
Am I right?
That also sort of changed
Yeah.
with this whole, like, change in state law.
okay.
I can
Alright,
scroll
so that's
down.
no longer true.
Yeah, kind of not.
I didn't know that. Public, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like, at our convenience, because the
Right.
timing has been challenging.
Here's another way of thinking about all of this, perhaps, because I want to acknowledge that you're all doing many other things in your lives, right? And I think that's really important, and you're volunteers, which is huge. And thank you. I don't know if you hear that very often, but thank you for your service, because it's amazing, right? Now, one of the things that you can do is just decide to be more focused. You've been already alluding to this, right? Is that sometimes what we do is we have a retreat and we have, like, idea, and then we form 5 subcommittees, and then we can't hold all that, right? It's just not reasonable. I mean, it's great to have ideas, but you can't hold all that. You could potentially get the work done in regular commission meetings if you selected, like, one area of focus a year, right? And I think The way I'm thinking about this also, when we get to a retreat, I'll probably have something a little bit more formulated and to present to you, but use the ordinance as your guide, right? The ordinance is kind of your how-to manual, and it basically, especially after February 2021, when they added a bunch of stuff to the ordinance, it really gave you some specific things that you have to do, right? And it's hard to do all that when you got so many different areas of focus. So if we use those things and say, what one topic are we going to use to tackle all the things that the ordinance is asking us to do, right? Like review systemic things, have a project, provide some sort of recommendation to council, all that stuff. You pick one area and then schedule your year. Use your meetings to say, okay, and we have our retreat in March. April, we're going to have a panel of experts to hear about this topic from this angle. In May, we're going to have a panel about this. And then by June, we start drafting our legislative recommendations and our recommendations to council for internal things. Like, you could structure your year that way such that you didn't really have to worry about committees, and any of the back and forth that you have can just happen over email, and then you do all your work in voting, obviously, in your main meeting. Just a thought.
So I know we're saying a lot about how ad hoc. I just want to pause and say that the community engagement has done a lot of work in our ad hoc meetings. And I just want to give a shout out to them and
True
us
that.
for that work that we have done in the meantime. I just think after summer, something shifted majorly with us, and it's just been hard to kind of get back on track. But agreed with you, Todd, about a project management approach to this. But the three committees that we do have are the housing, the community engagement, and the equity and city government. And I know that the housing, even though you guys have been meeting like alternatively, the community engagement has been meeting, except for the last few, pretty regularly, but we haven't had consistent with the equity and the city government. So I don't know if we want to, Catherine and Ernest, do y'all want to keep that one as an ad hoc committee, or we want to just keep the housing and engagement for right now until we revisit this after the retreat?
I think we should keep housing and engagement, stay streamlined.
Okay. How y'all feel about that for right now? It may change come January 2023 when we may have a different chair, and so. I
We
don't know.
haven't selected a date for the retreat, have we?
No.
Okay. I mean,
Or
that-
Todd, were you about to say?
Well, I was just going to say, my only thinking would be to do it in March because
We have new,
we'll have new
More
people that will be appointed at that
Yeah.
point. And we can do it in person now, so I guess we will have to do it in person. And so that also becomes a new consideration.
Mhm. Yes,
I mean,
Mary.
to me, the committee we have, or committees, should be a product of like whatever decisions we made there. I mean, I know I suggested this earlier, so I'm gonna say it again, because I, love to hear myself speak, and Ernest and Catherine weren't here, but I really like the idea of like a report on, the situation for unhoused people in the city, and kind of what, I think that's something we could actually do, put together, make some compelling recommendations. And if that's the case, then having a committee to work on that would be really useful. And maybe we select something else entirely, but it seems to me like if we have to, like, we are obligated to put together some, like, what is the language, report or?
It was modified a few times. I think the gist of it is project, which and it's something you work on over the course of a 2-year period. So, yeah. And in a sense, our project for this year really was the ordinance in pursuing the FAP. But yeah, that's totally reasonable.
I don't know, I feel like we've spent a lot of time on this. Wolfgang, yes?
Just in terms of substantive ideas, I like that a lot. I think that has utility both in terms of, responding to Angie's question and then also some of the questions that have come up in our group too. We did have the conversations that we had this past summer. Anthony Harris suggested a couple ideas. Anna Mendez suggested a couple ideas that we could pursue. One of those would be to see which service providers and what reasons that unhoused individuals will refuse services, either direct services, wraparound services, and to reach out to the HMIS database to see if we could figure out like how frequently it was happening and for what reasons, and so that could be also a project idea as well. It just, there's a lot of like,
Yeah, I mean, I think
we
those
have,
are-
we have like the bigger ideas, but I think there's just like a lot of like logistic connectivity things that have not
And
occurred.
what Mary was saying before, because I was there for the housing, was just her and I and Todd. But I like the idea that you had of like gathering, figuring out who we want to gather to start having those conversations. So are we in so you were waiting still to hear for someone to chair the housing committee?
I will continue chairing
Okay.
it, but I am open to mutiny if someone else wants to take the lead in the future.
So, but it sounds right for right now, Todd, that we don't need the December 1st meeting space, trying to look at everyone to see if that's what we agreed upon, to move everything in a working via email. Okay. Yes.
Lindell, you are the chair of the community engagement, is that right?
Lindell? We're trying to confirm if you're the chair for the community engagement.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you now.
Huh. The noise is, hold on a second.
It's like 75% of my room.
Can you hear me? Can you say
Yes.
something now?
We hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I must have accidentally hit something that needed noise. So I'm sorry. What was?
We were asking to confirm if you're still chair of the community engagement committee.
I
ad
would
hoc
be happy to do that with the understanding that I'm probably can't do anything until January.
committee. Okay.
I mean, except by email. That would be the only thing I could do.
Okay. Well, we were saying, and I don't know if you heard us, but we're going to not have our December 1st meeting. None of us will have the ad hoc committee meeting on December 1st, but we'll move the community engagement check-in and moving anything forward via email, and the same with the housing committee. And then we'll,
That sounds good.
Catherine, we won't, not dismantle, but we won't have the equity and city government review at this point in time. We'll just focus on the housing and the community engagement ad hoc committees. And so then we'll
Yes.
have potential reports out January, for our January meeting of work that we're doing via email.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. I heard a fair bit of that, but
Okay.
I missed that last little bit. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, please jump in if you can't hear us. Like I said, you're behind us, so it's kind of hard to see if you're trying to interject. So please just holler at us.
I'll holler.
All right, Todd, anything else about that?
I don't think so. So I'll make sure, the first Thursdays at 6:30 are still reserved for you going forward. So I think it's okay that we hold that space because it's easy to lose it. So I'll continue to hold it. But
You're going to look into.
do you want me to look into other times? Or
Yes.
are we kind of saying, for now, let's stick with?
No, yes, we want to, I'm sorry, yes, yes, reserve the, keep the space.
Yeah.
And look for other times for us, please, during
Okay,
the day.
and as far as other locations, it says there are other locations, but they must have a safety plan. I did not see a list of said other locations. I did see the list of places that do not meet the safety plan requirements, but not those that do. So, I don't know.
Love it.
Perhaps there are other places, but, we'll just hold city space because we can, and then I'll ask about, can we meet at other times during the day, knowing that that might not work for all commissioners, but it might work better for some. So maybe we can, if we do continue to have an ad hoc, more than one ad hoc committee, we can stagger those, and I can sign us up for more than one date.
Yeah.
And it seemed like just having that flexibility can help,
Yeah.
then maybe more of us can find a time that works for everybody.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Is there any particular window of time that I should ask for, just so that I don't say how about any time?
Catherine, do meetings during the day work better for you or evening?
In person here?
Yeah, like we had to be in person. What time works better for you?
Yeah, evening's gonna work better.
Okay, how about you, Ernest?
Evenings.
And Jeanette?
I'm flexible.
Flexible? I'm flexible. Wolfgang, what works better for you?
Evenings, maybe daytime on some Fridays, but it's
Okay.
very.
Okay, and Mary?
I'm okay with daytime if it's virtual, but in person, probably.
Evening?
yes, Yeah.
Okay.
I can't even do
I guess,
virtual during the day.
Maybe, even a little bit later in the evening? I don't know, just 6:30 is like just such
It's
a
hard. It is a hard time.
difficult time. So maybe even just later in the evening.
Like what
might-
would work?
Like 7 or 7:30 even might be better.
Catherine like scowls at you.
For,
For historical knowledge, these meetings used to go for like 3 to 4 hours. So starting later was never a possibility. We
Yeah,
would
I
like
understand.
finish at like 11.
We've been really efficient. Yay,
Yeah.
chair. Good job.
Yeah.
Give myself credit. So, so are we proposing then to do later? Except for Catherine.
We have this place reserved. I mean, it's just us. Those the first
It's reserved
and
from
third.
6:30 to 8.
Yeah, but it's sort of like 6:30 to 9:30. I think is like I have to look again when the hours, but it's basically nobody's coming in after us, so
Okay,
we have the flexibility
from 6:30
to start
9.
later if you'd like.
Okay.
So if that's more
Okay.
efficient, if that's better,
Maybe.
and let's talk about it. I know we've shifted it around over the years, so you just have to remember it. We'll just be right around the corner or right under, so
I
we
guess
won't.
we'll see what the times are and, I don't know.
Talk about it at potentially, so let's just say like for the next meeting, which is December, what? The 3rd December, the 3rd Thursday,
15.
the 15th. Do you want to meet at 6:37, 7:30?
I'm flexible.
You're talking about our regular meeting now?
Yeah?
Oh, I'm like,
'cause-
listen, you switching stuff up. Keep
No,
stuff.
just, because
keep stuff
generally, what I
consistent.
was hearing is
Oh.
generally 6:30 is a challenging time.
Well, I didn't realize our regular meeting time
Well,
change was up
I
for.
mean, the regular, like, once a month, that's.
Oh, gotcha.
We can do that, but it just would be, I don't know. I liked having the daytime ad hoc meeting earlier, but without that flexibility to do virtual meetings regularly, or if there isn't any other city space that could be used midday, then it seems kind of a moot point.
Okay. Well, we'll table it then maybe for now.
Are you okay? I'm sorry. Everyone else agreed to evening time. Okay. And we'll just, Todd, you're great at sending us reminders, so I guess could you possibly send us a reminder for January, so that'll be January,
For the,
for our
The
next ad
ad
hoc
hoc?
committee will be January.
yeah. I'm going to start
Well, you'll
trying to.
remind us in our December one, but it'll be January 5th.
Indeed, yeah, good.
Okay.
And I'll try to be good about sending you like calendar invites now that it's not
Yeah,
a virtual thing.
okay. Anything else on this topic? And Victoria, just to confirm, were there any events that you sent us on the calendar?
I don't have any upcoming probably until after Thanksgiving outside of I know Jeanette mentioned on our last ad hoc meeting that on Sunday there's a turkey giveaway happening at
Oh.
Tonsler Park.
I think it's actually Saturday.
Saturday. Oh yeah, sorry, you're totally correct.
Sounds before it, yeah. Yeah, it's Saturday.
The 19th.
Oh, you want to see the calendar?
Do you want me to pick up some flyers this evening, would that work?
Oh, aren't we out of flyers at the moment?
All my flyers are currently in Spanish. We're waiting on a re-download or reprinting of, sorry.
Okay, that's
I have some what is discrimination flyers in my car, but I think that's about all we currently have. But I can give you what I've got.
I'm sorry, would you? I can't see you, so I can't hear you. I put my glasses on, so I can hear you.
I can give you the remaining kind of stuff that I have in my car,
Okay.
and we can see if that was good enough.
Sounds good.
I meant to laugh with you, not at you. I'm the same way. I'm laughing with you, not at you. All right. I don't believe there's any new business to discuss. We will move back to public comment. If there's anyone that wants to raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, you can raise your hand. If you're on the phone, you can press *9. Okay, I don't see any hand raised. Then there's no response to the matters by the public. Are there any commissioner updates?
Not really an update, but I just sent an email to everyone. Livable Seagull is actually holding a webinar on homelessness in Charlottesville with a panel. And so I sent that in case
Thank
people
you.
are interested.
I think, is that the one you were talking about, Todd? No. Okay, great. Thanks for sending that. Anyone else? Lindell? Sorry.
It's okay. I'm bringing this up mostly because I've talked about this for the past 3 years, and I just want to report that the National Society of Black Physicists meeting was held last week here in Charlottesville on the downtown mall, and Jessica Harris was one of the key people to keep that meeting going and being the magnificent thing that it was. So anyway, I don't know if any of you saw any of the pictures or things going around, but it was a big deal for Charlottesville, I think. And the word is that everybody had a great time. So thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Lindell. And I should thank y'all. Appreciate that. And our Mayor Snook and the Chief of Police did come to speak at NSPP to welcome from the city. So I really appreciate Mayor Snook and our Chief of Police for coming, Tito. Thank you, Lindell. That was really nice. All right, any other commissioner updates? Okay, so in summary, next steps, we have the nominating committee for our chair and vice chair for 2023 will be Wolfgang is chairing that and Mary is assisting. So they will work on gathering, however you want to solicit who wants to be chair and vice chair. We will have our ad hoc housing and community engagement ad hoc meetings via email as we need to push this into the new year. And I think that, and Todd and I will be meeting with city council on the 21st of this month.
21st of this month?
Yes,
Yeah.
to talk about the ordinance. Yes, Mary.
I have a question about the legislative agenda for the city. Did we get some response to we pushed them to take on certain issues? Did they?
They did respond. Did you not get the email? They responded with questions. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, they did respond with questions and Todd did a
Are they
great.
going to tell us what their legislative agenda is and how does that happen? I mean,
It's a good question. I mean, I can ask, if you'd like, I'll put that on my list as things to do, is to ask what they did with our recommendations,
yeah,
basically.
just,
Okay.
are they,
Yeah, that's a good point.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, they asked questions. Todd did a great job of following up and we didn't ask them any more of what they were going to do with it, other than they weren't working at it on the legislative agenda at the moment when we had sent it to them. So, any other questions? All right, we're adjourning our first in-person meeting for a long time. It's 7:51 p.m. Eastern.
You all, next time I'll see you in person. Well, January.
Bye, Lindell.
Bye, Lindell.
Thanks.
Bye.
Lindell, stay so we can get a picture real quick.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm
Do you
here.
not mind getting a picture of us?
Here.
Sorry, it's history, getting to have us all in person. All right, smiling faces underneath the mask, you can tell.
We might need to.
Can you see us all,
Can you
Todd?
put us all in?
I can. I'm gonna stand on my.
Okay.
Do we need to move that podium right there?